Welcome to another edition of Radio Influencers, a podcast series we're doing for Radio Update. I'm your host, Andy Meadows. I apologize up front for the voice. I'm on the back end of a cold. Hopefully it's not too annoying. On today's episode, we're going to talk about radio jobs AI will replace first. But first, let's look at the results of our recent Radio Update polls. In last week's Weekly Wire poll, we played off last week's episode and asked, should on-air talent stop using fake names? No was the top answer with 66.6%, with yes getting 33.3%, so roughly two-thirds disagree with me on that one. In Saturday's Weekend Wire poll, we played off a great Persuading for Profits episode from last week where host Brent Hudenpyle interviewed LinkedIn expert Al Kushner, who shared tons of great tips for optimizing your LinkedIn profile for better networking. Worth a watch if you haven't seen it yet. So our poll question was, how active are you on LinkedIn? Don't have a profile, and have a profile and look at it daily, tied with 40% each. Look at it weekly had 20%. Surprising that still 40% don't have a LinkedIn profile, but encouraging that 60% do and at least check it weekly. As always, this podcast is recorded using Riverside. I'll put my affiliate link in the show notes, or you can get to it by going to radiostationconsultant.com. If you use my affiliate link to sign up, I'll give you a free 30-minute remote session to give you some tips and tricks on how to use it. Now let's get into today's episode. If you have any questions or thoughts after watching or listening, email them to me at andy@radiostationconsultant.com or editor@radioupdate.com, and I'll answer them to the best of my ability. I've written a lot about AI, as have many others, of course. Stephanie Blue wrote a great AI article about AI and radio for Radio Update recently. I've also talked quite a bit about it on multiple episodes of this podcast. So I get asked a lot of questions about AI in meetings and at conferences or in conversations with other radio friends. The main question I get is some version of this. Which radio jobs will AI replace? I wrote about this a couple of months ago in my 3 Phases of AI article, where I talked generally about the progression of AI, roughly when I think each phase will happen, who will be affected, how that will impact radio, and my estimate on when all of this will happen, which of course is just an educated guess. All of this stuff is incredibly fluid. So today, let's focus on specifically answering the main thing radio people want to know. What radio jobs will AI replace first, and when will that happen? On-air talent that are just liner DJs that haven't been replaced already because they don't bring any real value to stations will be replaced by AI any minute now, as will on-air talent who are either unable or unwilling to add anything to prep content, as well as on-air talent who refuse to engage and interact with their audience. There's no reason AI can't be used to do the same or better version of an air shift than talent that fall into these categories. Plus, it never has a sick day or takes vacations. The only thing that's kept that from happening already is the cost still needs to go down, which it will. That's why it's so important for any talent who are lucky enough to still be live and local to play to the advantages that gives them and add to their prep, work the phones and air calls daily, and engage with listeners online, on social, and on site. Other jobs that are in immediate danger of being replaced by AI are anything administrative, because AI can handle much of that. Eventually, anything done on a computer will be handled by AI, so radio won't be spared from that. So far, no one that I know of has pointed AI resources at traffic, doing commercial logs, or radio-specific billing, but that will eventually happen. Same goes for music logs and production. AI has shown it can learn the rhythms to do some very effective audio and video editing, so eventually those jobs will go away. Sales reps that are just order takers and don't actively get out into the community to meet prospects face-to-face also run the risk of being replaced by an AI-driven self-serve ad portal, which will likely happen soon. I'm kind of surprised that it hadn't already. This one hits home to me personally, but the days are also numbered for station voice talent. The best we can probably hope is to negotiate a one-time check for stations to clone our voice and use it in perpetuity. I voice a handful of stations myself, and I had to several things that needed to get voiced last week that I couldn't voice because I had a cold. And if I voiced it, it wouldn't match up with the other stuff I voiced for those stations. They were all understanding, and I've worked with them most of them for a long time, and they were fine with waiting a little bit, but that's one of the disadvantages of using a human to do it. The reason I made a point to say first is because, as I outlined in the 3 Phases of AI article, I believe that eventually AI will replace the vast majority of jobs, not just in radio, but across the board. Something I hope people much smarter than I am are working on addressing how we proceed as a society once that happens. I don't say all of this to be doom and gloom, but it's important for us to be honest with where technology is clearly headed. I still think the best option all radio professionals have of staying employed in radio for as long as possible is to fully embrace AI tools to 10x or eventually 100x themselves. I work with more stations than I've ever worked with, and I have a smaller staff than I used to because I use AI to help me with virtually every aspect of the job, and I use a data-driven approach to do traditionally one of the most time-consuming parts of the job, listening to and recommending music ads and moves. But the key is I don't use AI to do the work for me. I use it to enhance the work I'm already doing. It's like a NOS button on a car, times about 1,000. Plus, I do my best to continue constantly evolving, growing, and improving to stay ahead of the things that are just feeding off of what's already been said and written. One positive thing I will say is that I do believe we are absolutely going to see a pushback to AI-generated art and content where a segment of the population is willing to pay more for real, authentically produced art and content, which could cause a nostalgic movement that actually ends up helping radio, especially stations that have good local talent. When that pushback happens, we'll see people paying a premium for original human-made content. If you think I'm exaggerating about AI, here's a recent example from the movie industry. This is Tilly, an aspiring young actress who is seeking representation from an agent and seeing a lot of interest and creating a lot of buzz. Because Tilly isn't real. She's completely AI generated, but incredibly realistic looking. Here's a clip.
She's Hollywood's new it girl. Her name is Tilly Norwood.
Let's get to know each other, and thanks for watching.
Her photos and videos are all over social media. But Tilly is already causing a major controversy. Why? Because she's not real. She's AI generated.
Tilly Norwood, 100% AI generated.
Tilly is the creation of a Dutch comedian who says multiple talent agents have shown interest in signing the AI actress. The blowback is intense. This is really, really scary, says actress Emily Blunt.
Remember, what starts in Hollywood, where more resources are pointed, tends to trickle down to other industries. What do you think? I'd love to get your thoughts on this because I know everyone has an opinion on it. Email me at andy@radiostationconsultant.com or editor@radioupdate.com. As always, if you have some thoughts you'd like to share on this or any other hot radio topic, submit an article about it by emailing submissions@radioupdate.com. Thanks for listening, watching, and reading. We'll be back next week with a new episode of Radio Influencers. Radio Influencers is a Radio Update production. New episodes are released on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern.